right, should we get rolling here?
Yeah.
So our topic for today, we wanted to talk a little bit about VR, AR 360, and sports, and how that's really going to change how we are experiencing sports in the future. So we'll just start with this with a little bit of background for those who haven't seen it before. But this just gives an idea of what the Innovation Lab is all about. So we're inspiring the next generation of big thinkers. So that's you right there, if you're watching this. So what is REM5? So we're really here to bring this technology to consumers, to youth in particular in this case. So trying to bring you VR, AR 360 content so you can experience something that maybe isn't available at home or you haven't seen before. So that's our goal here, and it's one of the reasons that we're doing Innovation Lab. How does 360 video and VR work? Basically, you're going to take two images and you're going to give one image to each of your eyes, depending on the headset that you have. One of those images is slightly different, just tilted a little bit, and that's going to provide a little bit of depth to what you're seeing. So that's what's going to give you the sense of being in an immersive experience. And really the difference between some of the technologies is whether those images move and how fast they refresh. So the types of immersive technology that are out there, 360 images is kind of the baseline. So that's going to be just a still image, but you're going to be able to look all the way around you to see that image. So you're actually kind of like you're being inside of a like a Google Street View, for example. 360 videos is going to be similar, except those images are going to be moving. So just like watching the movie, but in a 360 environment. Virtual reality is where those images are created in CGI, so by a computer, and then you're able to move around and interact with that environment. So that's where, like something like Job Simulator, you're really able to interact with the environment, and so just another level of immersion there. Mixed reality is what we talk about when we talk about mixing things that are real and virtual reality. So we'll talk a little bit later about some of the training tools they have in sports, like in hockey. You can actually play hockey in a virtual environment with a hockey stick that's connected to the computer. So that's a really cool new development in the last couple of years.
Yeah, like the
and then
game,
augment.
like the
Sorry,
game,
what was that?
like the game you could play at the rec center. You'll go out to the rock, and then you could play VR there when it's like the show days or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And then augmented reality, that is where you're going to take a digital image and you're going to basically put it on top of reality. So you're augmenting. So something like the filters on Snapchat or Pokemon Go, those are examples of augmented reality. And we'll talk a little bit about that here in a little bit as well. So the difference between devices, there's usually kind of a good, better, best difference between devices. So an entry-level device, the Google Cardboard that I have right here, this is one you just put your phone in. So, pretty inexpensive. You can get one of these for about $10 or $15. And then, we go all the way up to the HTC Vive Pro, which is what we have at REM5. And, these are going to be far more expensive, require a high-end computer, and a little bit harder to run too. So there's kind of usually a gradient on what the quality is in those experiences and what you can do with them. And just like the PC and mobile devices, this is really going to change the way we work, learn, play, and socialize. So today we're going to talk about socialization with VR, and then also how people are playing and working in a virtual environment. So those are kind of the topics for the day. Any questions about this?
My mouse.
What's that?
I have to connect my mouse.
Okay. All right. So what we wanted to talk a little bit about first is watching live sports. So this is actually really something that a lot of places are thinking about right now, because with everybody home, we're actually having to experience sports in a completely different way. It's possible that this year we might not be able to go back to places like stadiums and watch sports. So one of the most immersive ways that you can still experience sports is to watch it in a 360 video or a virtual environment. All right, so the first one we're going to watch here is just some highlights from a Real Madrid soccer game. So what we have here is they're actually going to do an introduction in the locker room. If you can kind of look around the locker room here, see what that looks like in a 360 environment. And if I can get to the right spot, yep, they're going to have the players actually walk out here and do their introduction in 360 video. So what they're doing here is they're basically doing augmented reality on top of a 360 video. So they're taking of the video that's inside the locker room there. So I'll skip forward here a little bit to, you can see what it looks like to sit in the stands at a game and actually watch that in a 360 environment. Now, if you're wearing a headset, you could actually turn your head and look around in this environment as well. So it'd be just like you were sitting there. And Bijan, you may want to talk a little bit about I know you spent a lot of time watching the World Cup.
Yeah, one of the coolest parts about we watched the World Cup was obviously in Russia, and it's something you're not exactly able to go there to travel. It's tough to do. So being able to watch the game from your living room is pretty cool. And one of the coolest parts that I thought that you just showed there's different angles. So you can either watch it kind of from the stands. And one thing that we did, my favorite angle was actually what we're looking at right now, was from behind the net. Being able to watch a shootout from behind the net is arguably better than actually being at the game. So if you're a sports fan, it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, and so some of these were on one of Facebook's platforms. So they were on Google or Oculus venues. And what those did is they actually allowed you to bring in an avatar. So we could actually go in and watch the game as if we were sitting next to each other. So like Bijan and I could actually have a conversation, even though, we may be in different states, but actually be in the same virtual environment and be watching this game in a 360 video. So what this really does, one of the things we talk a lot about is VR being able to give you a unique perspective. And this is going to be able to give you a perspective that you're never going to get as a normal fan of a soccer team. Yeah, so what those cameras actually do is they have cameras that have 2 or more cameras on them. So the simplest cameras are actually really small. They're about this big, and there's just 2 cameras, and they're pointing in opposite directions. And they have what's called a fisheye lens. So it's basically kind of a curved lens, and it's capturing basically 180 degrees. And then the other cameras face the other way, and that's capturing the other 180 degrees. And then what the system does, it stitches those together to create one big 360 video.
Oh, so it's basically like seeing the eyes of a pigeon?
Yeah, that's a great example. And then if you want a higher quality video, some of the more expensive cameras or better systems are combining a bunch of cameras. So there's,
like that.
even like dozens of cameras. And then what they'll do is they'll take a smaller image that's a little bit higher quality and stitch that together with another small image, and again and again and again. So that's more complicated, but it gives you a higher quality output for the 360 image or the 360 video. So yeah, it's a great question.
Yeah, I got that.
All right, so let me see if we can show one of the higher quality platforms out there is Next VR. All right, is this popping up now?
Yeah, we can see it.
All right, so what this company does is shows 360 videos for sports. So that's really what they focus on. So let's try this NBA highlight reel. So now what's cool here is I can do this just with my phone, and I can just look around. So this is all from this season. And they actually put flames on the shots here. So I made some additions there. But you're actually courtside or behind the basket in these here. And then if you remember that Google Cardboard we talked about, if you hit this button in the bottom right, now if we put this in Google Cardboard, now I can see the image in 360 video. And this is actually a really good image on like an Oculus Go as well, which is these gray headsets here. So this is a really cool way to watch a basketball game. So as if the NBA season starts up again, I wouldn't be surprised to see more games being displayed in something like this in 360 video. And show you another couple examples here. So they've got boxing, they've got some snowboarders here that did some really great videos. And this is another one where, I ski, and it's really hard to explain to somebody how big that jump is or how steep it is. You can see a completely different angle now with watching this in a 360 video.
There's another thing that looks the same logo as that. It's called what is it called? Secret Lab chairs.
Secret Lab?
Yeah, have that same exact logo.
Oh, okay. As the next VR one?
I don't know. I just heard it from my friend. He has a Secret Lab chair, and it has the same exact logo as VR Next. What is it called?
Next VR. Yeah.
Same thing as Next VR.
Oh, okay. So maybe they're using the same technology. Another one that they're doing right now is wrestling. So if you've seen, I think it was WrestleMania was last week, and they actually did that without anybody in the stands. So, but they've got some highlights on NextVR using 360 video. So that's something. And then NASCAR is doing some displays as well. So lots of different sports trying to figure out how to show images and show content in 360 videos. All right, the next thing that I wanted to talk a little bit about, and we'll see if some of these videos work.
Next VR now.
Yep, that's what it's called on your phone. Yep.
Wait, I can't show it.
If you hold it in front of yourself, it'll.
Wait, this one.
Yep, that's it.
Oh no, I have that thing where you just do that.
Gotcha. All right, let's hope that this one works. But kind of the next step up is doing training in full virtual reality. So what this company is called Sense Arena, and they are actually doing hockey training in full virtual reality. So we talked about mixed reality, where you're mixing something like a physical object into a virtual environment. So what this company's done is they've taken a hockey stick, they put a couple trackers on it, and you'll see those kind of at the bottom of the hockey stick, and they can actually track where that hockey stick is in space, and then create a virtual replica of it, and then you can actually play hockey with it. So I'll show you what that looks like a little bit here. So there's the tracker there on the hockey stick, and they're doing wireless VR. And they're able to do drills in the environment. And this is one, Bijan and Amir, you guys have actually tried this one.
We have, yeah. We actually have a few sticks at REM5 as well that hopefully someday that we put into use for training. It's also just, a lot of fun if you're a sports fan to be able to go in and just repetition and just try to beat your high score and just kind of keep working on your skills. And then what you see right there is what you actually see in the headset. So it's actually the virtual world, like you're on the rink when you're in the headset.
So that's a pretty awesome use case. That's a really high end use case for virtual reality and kind of mixed reality as well. All right, and this company is doing actually soccer training. So you actually wear a couple of trackers on your feet and on where your shin guards are, and you can do training in VR. I'm kind of showing a digital representation here of what you would be seeing. So a way for you to practice skills, practice passing without having to have anybody else there. So something that even baseball players, professional athletes are looking at doing today because they're not allowed to practice anywhere. So really good technology for the times that we're in right now.
How much does it cost for the cardboard?
The cardboard?
Mm-hmm.
Those are depending on which one you get. Those can be $10. They can be $20. If you just look
what's
on,
like the $10 one.
This is basically the $10 one right here. As you go up, they just add like straps on the back. Kind of some other little.
Yeah, because I can connect it to my mom's phone, and then I could do this.
Yep, and that's exactly the way you do it. So it opens up right here, and you just place the phone inside of it, just like that. Then you close it up, and so then you're able to see that 360 or virtual environment.
Yeah, because you have to do this in order to do it.
Yep, exactly. So that gives you that application kind of gives you two options. You can watch it in a phone if you're vertical or in portrait mode, and if you go to landscape mode and hit that VR button,
it would show this. It would show like you'd have to do it sideways.
Yep, exactly.
Or you could just go. It would be a little harder to see.
Yeah, so Amir asked you a good question here about pro sports and some of the benefits that virtual reality is having. I want to show you one benefit here, one piece of technology here. If we can see the video, they've just got a few snippets on this one, but it really shows what NFL players were doing to try to get more reps in a virtual environment. So this is by a company called Striver. And what they're doing is they're actually showing, there we go. They're actually showing 360 videos of football plays. So this is the kind of for their training. This is the kind of thing that they're showing right here. Is you can actually be inside that play. Now the cool thing is you can run that play 100 times. You don't have to have other players on the field. You don't have to have anybody risk any sort of injury. You can basically get all those mental reps and do that without any, basically physical risk. So that's a really thing. With some of the videos that you watch here, VR is really starting to change the way that we watch sports. So you think about all these new camera angles, we're able to really get a much more immersive environment and when we're watching a basketball game, for example, or a soccer game. And so what that's going to do is allow us to have better views into the game than we've ever had before. So imagine being able to kind of like sit in the locker room when they're doing the pregame talk, or be inside of a huddle in an NFL game, or stand where the quarterback is standing and see what they're seeing during the game. or what does it look like to have LeBron James come and dunk on you, basically? So really changing the way that we see and experience sports is going to be a huge disruption, and also the training piece as well. Players, even younger players, junior high, high school, are going to be able to get those reps without having to have other people on the field as well. Are sports in VR AR only for pro training? So, Sophie, that's a really good question. And I think Ware put a little note in here, but a lot of these are geared towards pro training, and that's where it's going to start. Is they're going to basically create the high end content. That's what the hockey stick content is. Some of the investors there are actually pro hockey players, so they're going to start with those high end clients that can afford to put a lot of money into it. But then as those products get cheaper and cheaper and kind of spread out, we're already starting to see demand for those kind of things, and companies trying to figure out how do you put a high school quarterback into some of these simulations so that they can get the mental reps without putting high school kids in at risk of injury, whether that's offensive linemen or wide receivers running 100 routes. So we're starting to kind of see that trickle its way down, but it's really early on in the industry right now. But yes, they are definitely fun. I think that's kind of the first thing, Bijan talked about that a little bit. It's actually really fun, especially, in Minnesota in the middle of the summer, to be able to go out and just play hockey whenever you want and do some training whenever you want. So I don't know if you want to talk about that a little bit, Bijan, when you've been playing around with that content.
Yeah, especially with all the sports, but especially the hockey stick. The hockey stick company, they're pushing it as a training tool, and I understand that it is training for keeping your head up and passing and shooting, and like Travis was talking about, just the repetition. But at the same time, a lot of it is getting the way to get it out there, to get the high school coaches to try it and things like that, is for the entertainment factor. At the moment, right now, the only teams that, to my knowledge, that are using it are the Boston Bruins. So it's actually in their locker room, and then the Golden.
The LA Kings in the last week or two just announced they have.
Oh, really? Oh, very cool. So yeah, so it looks like 3 teams in the NHL. So it's one of those things, just like anything. It starts from the top and then kind of moves down. But the biggest issue with the sticks is the price of it right now. So for a local St. Louis Park hockey team to have one of those in their locker room, you have to kind of justify the price of spending on it, and so that's kind of the biggest limitation right now. But the biggest goal, for me, for someone is to get people to try it, and to do that, you just kind of got to get them in there and enjoy it and have some fun with it, because that's me and Amir, we've used it a lot, and it's just for fun, and as a competition, it's really enjoyable as well.
Yeah, and so can you give us an idea what are the prices starting at for some of these pieces of content, and how far further down do we have to go?
For the hockey stick, I'm not. Do you remember what the price was of it at all?
Amir, do you have the? I believe it was like.
Hey guys, this is Amir. It all in. So if you're starting from nothing, like you don't have any VR, you're talking about $5,000 upfront investment for one setup, and then there's ongoing subscription fees of somewhere in the $100 to $200 a month to keep the content updated.
Awesome.
Yeah, so that's where things are starting. But like we've seen with VR, I mean, when VR headsets first came out, you were talking about, kind of a similar investment just to be able to buy a VR headset at all. And the cost has started to come down now. There is that good, better, best concept that we've talked about. But, maybe for a high school team, you don't need that pro quality. Maybe you just kind of want a next step down, and maybe that's, a quarter of the price, and maybe that's a little bit more reasonable for something like a high school team. So but yeah, I mean, I think we're going to start to see more and more of that, especially as locations like REM5 start to explore some of these concepts and having, kind of one system that a lot of different people can use for training purposes.
Does the cardboard VR come with controllers?
So the cardboard VR does not have controllers. Nope. To do controllers, you kind of have to take the step up to the Oculus Go, and then that comes with a little controller that you see here.
How much does this cost?
So these start at about $200.
Okay.
So
to get Oculus Go standalone.
Yep,
yeah, and we've got some rental programs too right now. So that's something that
you can also use like a controller, like your phone as a controller.
Sometimes with some things you can. The other thing I wanted to talk a little bit about is kind of where this is going, where this whole industry is going. We've talked about that a little bit with the training side, but some really interesting news in the last week is that Apple actually bought Next VR. So Apple's been rumored to be working on some sort of a VR AR headset for quite some time now. It might be out in the next 1 to 5 years, somewhere around there. And so they're starting to buy companies that are creating content. Now, we don't know exactly what their plan is, but the fact that they now own a company that developed their own cameras and their own system for distributing video, that's really, I think, an encouraging sign that this is going to be something that's going to be getting more investment in the future, especially with everything that's going on right now. I think we're going to start to see more and more of this content in 360 videos for things like live sports and music as well. The other thing is that Facebook and Oculus have venues. So that's where they're putting some of these pieces of content on, and then you can actually go in and interact with other people. So if you want to experience a sports game or a music concert with your friends, you can actually be there with other people. So that's a really good thing to be doing for the industry, and it's going to hopefully get a lot more people excited about using this in the future. Oh, next year is not confirmed by Apple yet. Sorry, Amir says, but so we'll see if that deal does end up going through. Any other questions that you guys have here about sports and 360 videos and virtual reality and kind of where things are today and where we're going in the future? Or any comments if Bijan, Guer, Amir, Jared wanna pop in here?
I think just a comment. One thing I'm really, something that Travis and I talked about a little bit earlier today is with, sports in the next 4, 5, 6, all the way up to a year from now, are people going to go to the venues to actually watch the games? And I know that with UFC, they're going to be doing some stuff next week, and especially with baseball, because baseball wants to start a season, and one thing that they're talking about is getting all of the teams in one kind of state in Arizona and actually having all of their games played in 3 or 4 different stadiums throughout that area. And I'm really interested to see on where sports goes, just because it's something that we've been keeping an eye on, especially myself with watching a lot of sports in virtual reality. I'm just really interested to see where the next 6 months is with sports, to see if people actually start believing in the VR when it comes to sports. So I'm just really interested to see where it goes.
Yeah, and the other thing that's been happening is more and more people have headsets too.
Yeah.
So the World Cup was in VR. Was that 2 years ago now? And since then, there's been a few million headsets sold, like the Oculus Go, but then now the Oculus Quest is out as well. So there's more and more headsets out there, and that's going to be really good even for companies that are trying to create this content, figure out a way to get it into more people's hands. All right. Well, if you guys don't have any more questions, we will stop it there, but happy to answer anything else if you guys want. Well, because we got a couple minutes.
Want to talk about our education program at all?
Yeah. So the other thing that we've launched in the last, I guess, week and a half.
Sorry, my sister was annoying me.
It happens.
All right.
It does happen.
One thing that we launched in the last week and a half at REM5. So if you want to, find a use for these with that goes beyond sports, we're actually doing an education program as well. So with school being out, one great way to learn new cool stuff is with virtual reality. So we're doing that. We've got some interesting content coming this week around space and some a tour of the White House, for example. So some really cool content, and then we got lesson plans around that as well if you're interested in that. And then of course we include some fun and games on the headsets as well if you want to play around with those. And 360 videos are always available. So some of the highlights that we've shown today will also be available on the headsets. Are there lesser known sports also using VR like golf or bowling? Bowling, I don't think we've seen golf, have we?
I know that we've not necessarily with Next VR, but I have seen some other programs that have started to do golf a little bit, but I know it was kind of early on for them trying it, so it wasn't that great. But again, I think moving forward, especially like golf with, the major tournaments, such as the Masters that's supposed to start today, unfortunately was canceled, that moving forward, even when they move the Masters in November, I wouldn't be surprised if it is something that they try. I'd honestly be a little bit disappointed if they don't try to do some sort of virtual reality or a different way to watch it, especially if people aren't able to attend the actual events.
Yeah, and bowling's another one that that I haven't seen yet. I mean, there might be some YouTube videos in 360, yeah. But I am not aware of any of the big platforms investing in bowling. One of the challenges there, and this is just kind of the balance that VR is dealing with right now, is even with a fairly popular sport like the NBA, there aren't a ton of eyeballs on that content yet either. So that's what, as we talk about, what we need is more content and more people to have headsets. And so as those things kind of grow, then what will happen is there will be kind of a feedback loop, and you'll have better and better content. More sports are going to start getting involved. They'll start to figure out how to film some of these sports too. That's another one of the challenges that we have is how do you film a football game, for example, with a 360 video? Do you drop the camera, in from above? Do you have it on the sidelines? The industry is learning a lot about that, and so I think you'll see a lot of experimentation with that as we kind of improve and grow.
What's the name of the lenses for VR, like the cardboard lenses? Like, what's the name of them?
Just like the Google Cardboard? Oh.
Yeah, like the lenses that it shows, inside that you see out of.
Yeah, so I just put it into chat. It's a type of lens called a Fresnel lens. It's the same kind of lens used by lighthouses because it's actually multiple lenses over each other in those little rings that you see on it to magnify the light a bunch of times.
You know what I could do? I can make my board thing, and then I could get the lenses, and then I could put it like my phone, and then I can make my own thing.
Yeah, you can actually. If you look up, there are some kits online that you can definitely make your own cardboard if you can get some Fresnel lenses. So that would be a really cool project.
You should definitely show us if you make it as well. That'd be really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I'd probably have to go to Home Depot to get those.
I don't know if you'd be able, I would look online for Fresnel lenses. I don't, they
if
might
you're going to go to a
Depot
store, I would go to more like a Best Buy or like another electronics store, someplace that might have VR related stuff. They might carry kits.
Yeah, I know I've seen them online. I think after the first week I posted, in the email that I sent to the people who had signed up the first week, I sent a kit. There are definitely kits out there for making your own Google Cardboard. Yeah, there's a company here called I Am Cardboard, and it looks like they have their own kits. If you wanna, I'll put that in the chat here, and we can check that out. But there are definitely ways to make your own. So that would be super cool. If you do that, we'd love to see what you make. What's that?
eBay. See, look. See, these are the old ones?
Oh, yep. Yeah, Fresnel lenses.
So cool.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, thanks everybody for joining us today.
Bye.
And we'll be back again next week. If you want to learn about our education program, Innovation Lab Plus, feel free to send us an email or respond to the emails that we send out every week. We'd love to share that with you and share what we're doing with that program, as we're working a lot on that every week right now. So we'll be launching something new every single week there. So 5 new lessons every week, and the content is included as well. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Awesome. Thank you, Travis. Bye, guys.
See ya.